Straight Shift with the Car Chick, the podcast that's all about cars, buying, selling, fixing, and driving, and sometimes renting fast if you're the car chick. Now, here she is.
Welcome to my new podcast, The Straight Shift. I'm Leanne Shattuck, the Car Chick, and twice a month I am going to give you the straight shift about cars. What does that mean? It means that I am going to give you inside industry information, the bald-faced truth about car buying, car maintenance and repairs, safe driving, the information that you need to know to empower you to make smart financial decisions, to drive safely, to keep your family safe, to keep your car running properly, everything you need to know to be a smart consumer and not feel like you're taken advantage of when you go to buy a car or to maintain your car. Now, the Straight Shift is going to be available through iTunes and Google Music Play. And you can also get to it through my website. You can just go to thecarchick.com or you can go directly to thestraightshift.com. Since I'm launching this podcast in November, I wanted to start with a topic that a lot of people are getting ready to buy cars at the end of the year. It's a very popular thing to do. There are some great end of year deals to be had. Dealers have, some excess inventory and they're looking to get their end of year bonuses, avoid potentially paying taxes on their unsold vehicle stock. Plus, auto manufacturers traditionally offer some special incentives to help their dealers move inventory at the end of the year. And that can translate into some great extra savings for you. But a lot of people get kind of caught up in that holiday shopping frenzy. It's not just on Black Friday and, getting, Keurigs and toasters at, crazy prices at Walmart. The automotive industry has jumped on the Black Friday bandwagon as well. And people kind of get into that end of year shopping mentality. And there are three huge mistakes that most holiday car shoppers make. So today I'm going to tell you about those and how to avoid them and what you should do instead if you do want to buy a new car and get a great deal by the end of the year. Most people just kind of assume that you're just naturally going to get the best deal if you wait until the very end of the year, but that's not necessarily true. And the first huge mistake that most holiday car shoppers make is just assuming that the car that they want to buy is going to be on some sort of crazy fire sale. The manufacturers don't just automatically offer great deals on every single make and model in their lineup. Incentives are designed to help them move inventory. So if they have a vehicle that, say, maybe it just came out, it's a brand spanking new model. For example, the 2018 Honda Odyssey minivan has come out and it's extremely hot in the market. It's a great redesign if you haven't seen it. If it just came out, or maybe it's a vehicle that just is selling really, really well and they don't really need any extra help, any incentives to get those vehicles to move, you may find that there are no special deals on the car that you want because everybody else wants it too. It all goes back to the simple rules of supply and demand. And maybe even if there's not, some big fancy rebate or cash incentive on the vehicle you want, well, maybe there's a special APR like the 0% financing, or even just a really good lease deal if you are interested in leasing and you're a good lease candidate, which is a totally different topic for another day. But don't just assume that the car you want is something that you're going to be able to get at a crazy good deal just because it's at the end of the year. And a lot of times they'll, it's all about marketing, right? So, you'll see the big holiday sales and, all the great commercials, and you see the cars with the bows on top and Santa delivering them and whatnot. A lot of that is hype, and it makes you think that it's a really great super holiday end of year special deal. Well, often the special, especially if it's a special APR or a special lease rate, a lot of times you can get those deals at other times of the year too. It's not necessarily a end of year only kind of special. Manufacturers will often offer a 0% or a low APR rate, or they will have a good lease deal on a certain type of car. So don't feel like you have to necessarily buy a car at the end of the year to get a good deal. Good deals can be had all year round. It just depends on the supply and demand for the particular vehicle you want at that time. Another thing you need to realize, and the number two mistake that most holiday shoppers make is that they just pay the price that's on that little red tag special. And just because something is written on said festive red tag that's hanging on the side view mirror or on the front of the car, that doesn't necessarily mean that that is the best deal that can be had. I mean, the dealerships are still negotiating. It's not like they get to the end of the year and say, okay, we're going to have a fire sale on all of our cars, and they're going to put their bottom line price on the tag without having any profit built in there. That would be crazy. Again, this is not Walmart or Target or your local department store where the sale price is the sale price. Those fancy red tags on the cars, may reflect a good amount of savings, but it may not be the absolute best deal that you can get for that car. They just kind of rely on people getting into that holiday frenzy and the mentality of when you are going, and doing your other holiday shopping and you are paying the sale price at the retail stores. And the manufacturers and the dealers kind of want you to have that same mentality when you walk into their dealership, and they actually want you to forget that the price is still negotiable. Buying a car is a process, and that process is no different if you're shopping in December or if you're shopping in June. The only difference is that it may be a little more of a hassle and it may take you a little bit longer to get through the process in December because everything's crazy at the dealerships and bless their hearts, they're running around like chickens with their heads cut off. So it may take you a little bit longer to go through the shopping and negotiating process, but the process itself is the same. And if you just go in and get all excited and just agree to pay the price on the red tag, you may be leaving money on the table. Now, the third mistake that most holiday car shoppers make is waiting till the last minute. There's been a lot of, quote, wisdom in the industry, when it comes to car buying advice that, oh, well, you should always wait to the last day of the month, or should always wait until the last day of the year because they're desperate to make their numbers and you're going to be able to negotiate the best price on the last day. Now, while technically that can be true, it applies a little more to the other 11 months of the year, not necessarily December. But you also have to think about it again from a supply and demand standpoint. Everyone else is also thinking that they can get the best deal by waiting until the last day. And it's going to be absolutely nuts. The busiest week of the year for any car dealer is the week between Christmas and New Year's. Everyone waits, they get through all their holiday stuff, and they're like, oh, we're going to buy a car by the end of the year and get a great deal. And what they end up doing is spending 14 hours at a dealership on New Year's Eve. If you want to wait to the last day of the year to get a great deal, by all means, be my guest. But if you would rather spend New Year's with your sweetie watching the ball drop at some great party instead of sitting at a dealership at 11:30 at night trying to finalize paperwork, I strongly recommend you do not wait until the last day of the year. You don't want to have to camp out. And again, buying a car is a process. It shouldn't be an event. And if you take your time and do your homework and do all your research and go through the process like you're supposed to, then you'll still be able to get a great deal, but you're not going to waste your holiday vacation time, sitting in dealerships that entire week. That is not my idea of a good vacation, and it's probably not yours either. those are the biggest mistakes that most car shoppers make. We're going to take just a 60-second break. And when we come back, I'm going to tell you what you should do instead. What is the right process to make sure that you get a great deal at the end of the year or any other time of the year? So stay tuned. I'll be right back. Do you hate car shopping? Do you worry about being taken advantage of or about finding the right car at a fair price? Buying a car can be a frustrating and time-consuming experience. But what if you could get a great deal without having to do a ton of research, without having to haggle, and without the fear of buying a lemon? You can. As your personal car shopper, the Car Chick will help you pick the perfect car based on your unique lifestyle, budget, and personality. She'll handle all of the legwork and negotiating for you. All you have to do is sign the papers and take the keys. It's that easy. To learn how the Car Chick can save you time, money, and hassle on your next car purchase, give us a call at 888-575-2138. That's 888-575-2138. Or visit us on the web at thecarchick.com.
Ah, the Car Chick is back for more Straight Shift.
I'm talking about holiday car shopping. And before the break, I told you the 3 biggest mistakes that most holiday car shoppers make. So now I want to tell you what you should do instead to make sure that you get a good deal and minimize the hassle as much as possible of buying a car towards the end of the year. And this process is applicable to any time of the year that you may be car shopping, but it's especially important to remember around the holidays so you don't just get caught up in all the holiday craziness and agree to pay the price on the tag and leave money on the table. The first step anytime you're getting ready to buy a car is to do your homework. And if you're planning to buy a car by the end of the year, I actually recommend that you start the homework process by no later than October. The more information that you can gather ahead of time to help you make the right decisions, because half the battle is picking the right car in the first place. And this gives you time to research the makes and models online before you ever go to a dealership to set foot on the lot to drive a car. You should already have all this research done ahead of time. You don't want to rely on the folks at the dealership to educate you on everything about the car. You should really have that knowledge already in your head and just have them show you the vehicle itself and maybe learn some things, how does this feature work? How does that feature work? And maybe a few things that, you didn't really know about that weren't well explained online to kind of just fine tune that experience to see which car is right for you. Research the features and options that you want and which vehicle has what bell and whistle and the best bells and whistles. Also research your safety ratings, your fuel economy, if these things are important to you. And also take a look at, what is the predicted reliability? If it's a brand spanking new model, you may not know, but what's the history of the manufacturer? Do they have a good reputation for reliability like Honda and Toyota do? Or is their reputation a little bit more questionable like Chrysler and Jaguar and Land Rover? So that'll kind of give you an idea of, whether the car you're looking at, might end up being good or if you should anticipate that you might have some problems with it. Also look at, what should be kind of the expected maintenance costs down the line. You really need to look at the whole picture, not just, ooh, that one's shiny and pretty. Believe me, I am a huge sufferer of bright, shiny object syndrome, but buying a car, this is an expensive tool. And, making sure you kind of look at the big picture will help you to make a smart decision so that it doesn't end up, costing you an arm and a leg and a ton of headaches down the line. You want to do all this research online, and there's some great resources out there. One of my favorite research sites is Edmunds.com. If you have a Consumer Reports subscription, they have great information as well at consumerreports.org. It's well worth, I think it's something like $30 a year for that membership. It's totally worth it. And you can also look up things like TVs and refrigerators whenever you need to. But narrow it down to two or three vehicles that you think would be perfect for you based on your priorities and what you like. And then you can schedule some test drives. Because one of the things you do not want to do is test drive five, six, seven different vehicles if you can avoid it. I swear it is like trying on too many wedding dresses. And after a while, they all start to look alike, and you can't remember which one was which and which one had, this safety feature or that really cool application or navigation system. They all just run together. And I find that most people that do that get themselves into a purchasing paralysis because they're just overwhelmed by all the information. So if you can narrow it down to just two or three vehicles and get your butt in those seats, that is usually a more efficient process and reduces the overwhelm so that you can make good decisions. When you put your butt in the seat, and I use that term, put your butt in the seat, because you can do all the research you want online, and a car may look really perfect on paper, but when you get in it and actually feel it, you feel what the seat feels like. How does it support your lower legs? How does it feel on your lower back? Is there sufficient lumbar support? Can you reach all the controls easily? And how easy to use are those controls? Does it feel weird and alien, or is it comfortable like an old shoe? How does it drive? Is the, steering too squishy, or does it feel just right? Does it feel like it has enough oomph and acceleration to get you out into traffic? Those are the kind of touch and feel experiences that you get on a test drive that just really are not translated well on paper. And quite frankly, they just vary from person to person. I always say that, beauty is in the butt of the beholder when it comes to cars. So, it's comfortableness is, comfort is in the butt of the beholder. So you really just have to see what car also feels right to you. So when you're ready to do those test drives, look around and see, who has the vehicles that you're looking for. And that's actually an important point because one of the challenges at the end of the year is inventory is moving very quickly. And the dealers may not have the car that you're looking for on their lot, especially if it has been a hot seller or if it's brand new. I had a client a few years ago that had purposely waited until the end of the year because they wanted to get a screaming good deal. And, come to find out, they started their shopping on, December 28th. And lo and behold, there weren't any. The dealers couldn't get one. So they were not able to get the car that they wanted. They actually ended up settling for something they didn't really want simply because what they wanted wasn't available. Starting your homework in October will also allow you to monitor the dealer's inventory in your area. Does it seem like they have a lot of these vehicles? Are they plentiful in the marketplace? And, the color you want is out there. The ones with the options you want are out there. You're spending thousands and thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars on these cars. You don't want to have to settle for a color that you're like, yeah, it's not, my first, second, or third choice. Or you don't want to have to sacrifice some of the options that you really wanted. Like, ooh, I really wanted the one with the 360 camera and the lane departure warnings and the collision braking, but they didn't have that model. They were all sold out. And so I had to settle for this other one. You don't want to get into that situation. But if you start your homework early and you monitor what's going on in the marketplace and you see how the inventory is moving, then you know how to time your purchase. That way you're not going to be disappointed, because you shouldn't be disappointed in the car that you buy. It's much better to just wait until what you really want comes along, even if you have to pay a little bit more money for it, because you're going to be driving this every day and you're going to be keeping it for several years. The worst thing for me as the car chick is to see somebody say, God, I hate my car. That's just a horrible thing to say. You shouldn't hate a car. I understand sometimes you just have to have a vehicle and you're constrained by budget or some bad situation. Your car was totaled and you had to buy something that day. Those, in my opinion, are temporary situations. But if you are planning to buy a car, it should be the one that you really, really want. So starting early will help you to get what you want, exactly what you want. Now, once you've put your butt in the seat and you've decided, ooh, I like, this is definitely the one I want, then you can start researching the details on the pricing. What incentives are in play? Are there any rebates or, customer cash? Do you qualify for any loyalty incentives? Maybe, you've had Hondas, been buying them forever. And so there's an incentive for loyal Honda buyers that you may qualify for. So, you have to research the incentives in detail because they can be a little quirky. So, researching those ahead of time will help you to know what you actually qualify for. Because a lot of time, the advertised prices in the market will include all of the incentives in that special price. So you look online and you're like, oh my gosh, I can get this car for $12,000 below sticker. Well, if you go in and read the fine print, it's because they got to that price by adding up all the rebates that not everybody actually qualifies for. And sometimes you can't even qualify. It's physically impossible to qualify for all of those rebates. So you want to make sure that you research those and you understand them and you understand which ones you qualify for and which ones you don't. So that when you do start negotiating with the dealership, you already know about what you should pay for the car. And also, again, we were talking about looking at the supply and demand for the vehicle. That's going to come into play. Don't expect to get a crazy bottom line, zero profit for the dealer kind of price on a car that is in hot demand because the dealer doesn't have to give you that price. They can sell the car for sticker. It all comes down to supply and demand. Do all your homework, research the pricing and incentives, and know what is a good deal for that car and what is not. And while you're at it, go ahead and get pre-approved for your financing if you're planning to get a loan for the car and not just pay cash. Know what your credit score is and what you qualify for. If you're a member of a credit union, they often have the best rates of any bank. So go ahead and get that pre-approval. And then you can also compare those rates to any that are offered by the manufacturer or that the dealership might be able to get through their relationships with different banks. But always make sure that you know what you qualify for and what kind of loan you're talking about. And then you want to shop around to multiple dealers to get the best deal. You're not going to be buying the car the same day you test drive it anyway. That is one of my rules. If you know me, you never buy the car the same day you test drive it because you're too emotional and you want to separate your money from the excitement of the test drive. And this allows you to shop around to multiple dealers and make them compete for your business. You're looking at the overall deal, not just a quote on the price of the car that you want to buy, but make sure that they're not slipping in any extras. Are there any hidden fees? What are they going to give you for your trade? There's about 8 areas in any given car deal where the dealer can make money off of you. And I'm not saying that dealers should not make a profit. They absolutely should. They're a business, not a charity, and it's their job to make a fair profit. And the key word there is fair. But because this is a negotiable product in our society, you as a consumer have the right to try and get the best deal that you possibly can. Just remember, it's not just on the car that you're buying. You've got to factor in your trade and the financing and any of the other extras. And when you shop around for these quotes, you can do it via email. You can do it over the phone. Be aware that it may take the dealers a little bit longer to respond to you this time of year because it's a little crazy. So give yourself time. But when you get those quotes, get a buyer's order, not just their little quote thing that they sent out over email. That's not legally binding, and it usually does not show you the final, what's called out the door number. That includes your taxes, your tags, all the fees, everything. And if it's signed by someone at the dealership, then it is legally binding. This way, you can really compare out the door what is your bottom line deal. And that allows you to compare multiple dealers and see what that bottom line compares to. Because some of them might have a higher doc fee than the others, or some might put more money on your trade than the others. There's so many different factors that add up to that bottom line price that you would have to pay to walk out the door with that car. So be sure you get the quotes in a buyer's order showing the out the door numbers. Also make sure that they actually have the car that you're talking about, because very often the dealers will quote you a price on the vehicle that you want with all the colors and options but oh, they don't actually have one. It's kind of a theoretical, if we did have one or we could get one, we would give it to you at this price, depending on whether or not we can actually get it. Dealer trades are a normal thing in the industry, and most dealers can do them. But at the end of the year, they can be a little bit trickier because dealers are less motivated to trade with other dealers unless they're really getting something that they need in return, because they want all the inventory they can get to sell. It's moving very quickly, and the dealers can't get a hold of each other either to negotiate those trades. So be sure that the quote you're getting on the vehicle is for one that is actually on their lot, and get that stock number to prove it so that you can verify it in their inventory online. Be aware that this process is going to take a little bit longer. So give yourself enough time, and be aware that, once you do negotiate a deal, you have a deal with that dealer and you come in to take delivery of the car. That delivery process is going to take longer than it normally would. You can typically expect a car delivery to take 2 to 3 hours anyway, especially on a weekend. But around the holidays, realistically, that can easily take 2 to 3 times that amount of time. So schedule your delivery if you can for first thing in the morning, and at least you get in early and can be at the front of the line for, getting through the paperwork and getting into the finance office and through the computer system and everything, to try and minimize the time that you're spending at the dealership instead of the time you're spending with your family. And most of what we've talked about today is about getting a new car by the end of the year. But don't forget, you can also save some money on used cars over the holidays as well. And used car prices traditionally drop towards the end of the year because so many people are trading in vehicles to buy new ones. And so the supply of used cars, especially what I call slightly used cars, about 3 or 4 years old, that are coming off lease, because people sometimes just lease cars every 3 years of the holidays, that supply is flooding the market, and it drives the prices down a little bit, and also gives you a lot of really good choices if you're looking for a certified pre-owned, what I call gently used car. So used car deals can be great at the end of the year as well. But on the flip side, it does mean that if you're trading in a car, it's probably going to be worth a little less money at the end of the year than it would, if you were trading it in, say in March or April when it's used car buying season. So just be aware of that. If this all sounds really overwhelming and not something that you want to deal with on top of all the other holiday craziness that's at the end of the year, it's a lot of stress and hassle. This is where I can help. I'll help you pick the perfect car based on your unique lifestyle, budget, and personality. And then I'll handle all of this legwork and negotiating for you so that you can focus on the time with your family. If you're on vacation from work, the holidays should be a time that we truly enjoy, and there's no need to have any extra stress than there already is. So, if you want to get a hold of me, you can reach me at thecarchick.com. And if you have any ideas for the Straight Shift show, if there's a topic that you want me to cover that you would like information on, just go to my website, thecarchick.com, and send me a message and tell me your topic idea, and I would be happy to get that information out to you. So folks, I hope you do enjoy the holidays that are coming up. Be safe, don't stress too much, and enjoy the holidays. And most importantly, drive safely.
The Straight Shift podcast is copyright Leanne Shattuck, The Car Chick, 2017. All views expressed by guest and or co-hosts are those of the guest and or co-hosts, and not necessarily those of Leanne Shattuck or The Car Chick.